Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end of day market video for Thursday, the 28th. As a reminder, we only have one more trading day to go for September. First disclaimer in front of you, everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Everything that we are going over is for information purposes only. Just a quick reminder, as I mentioned this yesterday, I'll mention it again today. Oh, that's the wrong screen for you, but that's okay. There we go. All right. If you are not a member of Tribeca Trade Group and you want a free look at what I'm doing in terms of positions and our watch list, right, and how I kind of dissect the day with themes, you can go to tribecatradegroup.com. You could put your email address in and you could get a free look at our emails and basically charts, trade setups, anything that I kind of take for the day. That's included in our midday email, and then you will also get the end of day recap email. So don't forget to do that at tribecatradegroup.com. At the end of the 5 days, if you don't do anything, you don't get any you won't be on the distribution anymore. So let's get to the price action, because it was certainly interesting today and there was some things to watch. There's definitely some things played out, but I want to remind you too that one day, just as a reminder, is not a trend. So even though we saw this nice bounce today in equities, the Qs and were up almost 1% for the day, up 84 basis points. And IWM had a really nice day today too, up close to 1%. The VIX was down 5%. The dollar, which we spent some time talking about in yesterday's video, talking about how it was overbought with an RSI of 80. Now that was a great little signal there that things were getting a little bit out of hand. And the dollar came down pretty decently today, down 0.5%. So another move. More also with bonds, not quite of a move altogether as much as the dollar moved, but it had a big rally from the open. The bonds were headed down again this morning. Rates were higher, and they reversed that. So here's what TLT looks like. We'll go over this quickly. Here's just the daily chart, and you could see, I mean, we were really, as I mentioned in yesterday's video too, oversold there. I think the RSI was, I think it was just under, or maybe it was around a 20. I'm trying to remember from yesterday's video. And here's, wow, and there's your nice hammer bar for the long bond futures, right? Nice hammer bar for that. And we took out a lot of these levels. So it's going to be interesting what we get for the final day of the month for tomorrow. But we are still, we broke those the value area for the year. So we'll see. And I think that's ultimately, when you start to see bonds recover a little bit from getting absolutely destroyed over the last 2 weeks, it definitely takes some of the pressure off of equities, and same thing with the dollar. So that's the first thing that I wanted to talk about in today's video, because I think that does have an impact. And I wanted to talk about just where we are in terms of the indices, and then we'll talk about some standout names today. But for the S&P futures, right, we did get a hammer bar yesterday on the 200-day moving average. Remember, a hammer bar candle, usually can mean that that a short-term low is in, and so far that's holding. We don't really have that much confirmation yet, because price is still below its 5-period moving average. So I kind of stay cautious till that takes place, right? Again, as I'm a trend trader, so I'm not really looking to, go crazy trying to time the turns on the bottom or on the top. I'm looking for the majority of the move, right? I'm looking for the trend. I'm not looking for to try to exactly time those things. So I don't mind being a little bit late, with getting with putting on a lot of exposure. But I'll tell you, I've been swing trading in this environment because there has been some opportunities and things like, things that I've talked about in recent videos: energy stocks, uranium stocks, coal stocks, right? Those things have been pretty strong. And when you split energy apart even more, refining mining stocks acted pretty well today too. So there's been some opportunities in these things. Have there been, has there been a lot of opportunities outside of that? No, there hasn't. They've been few and far between. But ultimately, what I would like to see is price get above the 5-period moving average to basically be adding more risk in this environment. So here's kind of, here's where we also made a little bit of progress, right? So this is kind of tough because we're so far below the value area for the week. What this kind of lends is to more short-term trading because it's too hard to tell if we're changing direction here for more than just a very short-term trade. But price is above these short-term moving averages, this is good. We finally changed direction a little bit, right? We're also back above this last virgin point of control. Which you can kind of use as a stop, but we're making some progress here in S&P futures. The Qs, each one of these are kind of different. So I'm going to start with this as well. The Qs, we really don't have that much to hang our hat on. Nice little turn here too, but not above the 5-period moving average. And being that we only have one more day of the September value area. Remember, the September value area is based on all of August's activity. So the October value area is going to be based on all of September's activity, so we only have one more day of September. Probably, I don't think this is going to change that much, but we may be opening up depending on, unless we have a really nice continuation day tomorrow, we could be opening up below the value area, which is around 360.24 in the Qs, right? So that's going to act as some resistance that the market will have to get through. So again, I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, looking to that October value area, but that'll be interesting. And for today, we had a really nice hint, right, on why today was more of a scalping type of day trade type day, because we made this nice move, and I talked about this several times in our trading room, talking about, hey, watch the Qs, you're at resistance, right? And that worked extremely well. Right, and here was my post from, I guess this was about 4 hours ago, talking about, here's the value area and we're running into it. And, really that's what so 1 hour has rallied up to the 1 hour bottom of value, short-term resistance, right? So really that's what I always impresses me about the value areas that we use, the TTG TTG MarketWebs, is it really kind of gives you what I refer to as a roadmap of where there's resistance and support around, and that was perfect. So you could have played that. We also talked about, if we go even shorter time frame, we had this nice break of today's value area because we were sitting inside value for the first couple of hours of the day. We didn't break that until right before, I think, the 11 o'clock hour, right? And what was nice about this too, I know I'm covering a bunch of concepts here, but generally this is what I want to see when we break the value area, is not just like a wimpy, kind of candle like this. You want to see a really strong candle like that with decent volume, and look at the follow through. So again, this was a good enough trade. The same thing occurred, by the way, in S&P futures, right? We were inside value, and we made a nice push up into there. Ticks got pretty extreme. If you use the tick index, it got over 1,000. So I thought that was a good place to take some profits. And that was basically, the high of the day, and the rest of the day was a bit on the whippy side. One other thing that I wanted to mention too, last index. So again, some nice, levels to basically, as long as you're a disciplined trader and, can manage to kind of take some intraday positions. And this is not the market right now to be swinging for the fences. So if you understand that this is a base hit type market, there are certainly a lot of hits for today, a lot of base hits that you could have had for today. IWM, nice continuation off of that virgin point of control takeout. That's exactly what we want to see when we get one of these virgin point of control takeouts, is a reversal off of there. Now, this was kind of interesting too, because this had trouble with the bottom of value all week long. We briefly, did have a reversal off of this version point of control, got into the value area, but then got rejected, and then got rejected several more times. But today made this nice move in. Somebody asked me on Twitter, they're like, hey, does that trigger the 80% rule? 80% rule meaning once you establish yourself inside value where you were originally outside of value, there's an 80% chance that you could go from one side of the value area to the other. Yes, it does trigger that, but you have to keep in mind, this is just the value area for this week. So you only have one more day, and you have to kind of cuff that a little bit and say, geez, well, that's not really reasonable that, we're going to make a move all the way through the value area. It's just not highly probable. If it was in the beginning of the week, I would have said, hey, I would definitely be trading on that 80% rule. But being that it's Thursday and, it didn't trigger till the middle of the day, you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt. All right, so let's get into some individual names. I mean, there was some really interesting things that went on. I'm going to talk about the one that was actually really bad because I just like market stats. We saw this with consumer staples earlier this week, kind of a capitulation type selling pressure. And look at the XLP come all the way down to that virgin point of control. Now, still, that's not much of a reversal from this, but it is marking the low for now. Very similar to when it did back in here, all the way back last year. So XLU, another defensive area of the market, this traded the most volume today since April of 2020, right? When that happened, we're back in the COVID days. So really interesting, and again, I don't have a position in XLU. Am I looking to do anything with XLU? Probably not, but I find it very interesting that maybe this has had its own capitulation today, taking out that virgin point of control from all the way back in here. Notice how last year we got to that virgin point of control so closely and we didn't take it out. Sometimes that happens, and I think in my mind, hey, maybe that was close enough. But a lot of times prices it's leaving it there for a reason, and it came back this year because this is from the value area from 2 years ago, from 2021. Based on 2020's market activity, but really interesting. So no, unless you want to trade that, if that's the type of trader you are, you can play that type of reversal. One name I thought was interesting that's also saw option activity, which is also like a counter trend trade, because I did take a chance at this one. I like Abbott Labs. I've always liked the company, but if you look at the weekly value area, and this name did see option activity, right? I think it was February call, big block of February calls that went up. Look at the place where they chose to do that, right? So I talk about all the time option activity. Sometimes I think that it's really like they're not good trades that you see on the tape. I do use my own personal judgment when we see calls go on the tape, but I think like this is like if I were to go long, and I did go long Abbott, like this would be a nice level to do it against, right? That's the bottom of value for this year. So that's some pretty major support. Now, if we look at the daily chart, notice also what happened here. Right, there was a virgin point of control that was taken out a couple days, and lo and behold, you have a reversal off of that. So where do I think that this can get to? Well, again, I'm going to cheat and look at the October value area, and that is right around 99.60. I know that's not too far up, but that's a nice little trade for a reversion type trade, right? That's what I would be looking for this. This is, in my opinion, what's known as a counter trend trade, because we are below the 200-day moving average, and this name is technically in a downtrend, even though it looks more sideways to me than anything else. I guess that's right. It is in a downtrend, considering the moves of the last couple years. A couple other names, really a standout name, Jabil Circuits. This is a name that I have a very small position in, or it's called Jabil now. But this has been such a star performer. It's so funny to me that sometimes these names, they just don't get any attention. They don't get any attention. But this name has been killing it over the last couple of years. Look at the trend that this thing has been, providing, and a nice move. So again, I don't own a huge position in my what's called TTG trend portfolio, but I do own a small amount. I also own a small amount of Fabrinet. This is another name that had really good earnings a couple of weeks back, and I didn't see any news on the stock today, but made a really aggressive, nice move to the upside on strong volume, 5.6%. So again, another name that I have a small position in. I think it's, when I say small position, it's just a 2% weight in that portfolio. So that's how I kind of if I'm going to play a name that's a little bit off the radar, but has a nice trend, a lot of times I will stick it in that portfolio, but at, a less than 5% weight. So that's a couple names that were interesting. SMCI, this is a name that I talked about that was showing some relative strength the other day. It was starting to turn before anything else was. Made a nice move today, up 4.6%. I did take profits in my trading account because this was my short-term price target, right at 270, and it did stop there. So that worked pretty well in terms of taking profits. Again, I did quite a bit of day trading today, but where is this SMCI? Here it is, right? Out at 270 spot 40. That's the 1 hour VPOC. In at 248 earlier in the week. So this was a nice trade, right? A couple other names that I thought were of interest today was CAMT. Unfortunately, I didn't trade this name. This was something that I put on the watch list this week, but this has been a dicey week, and I I've learned not to trade names that I haven't really traded before, when the market is doing what it's doing, right? When we've got a bearish McClellan summation crossover. If the market was a little bit better, I would be getting involved in this name, but it speaks for itself. I mean, really nice. This thing started to move up way before the rest of the market. So it was acting really well while the market was acting weak. That's what we call relative strength, and very impressive to see something like that. This is an instrument company, by the way. Here's our watch list, by the way. I do show this, and again, if you sign up for the end of day email, you will get this. But we've got some nice plays, and so from some interesting places. So there's CAMT up 9.4% from our trigger, right? Because we put levels of where things break out of short-term value areas. There's the FN up 6.2%. AMR, I didn't trade this one in my trading account this week, but I did stick it into that TTG trend portfolio. That's up 8% from the trigger. And then the SMCI, which already mentioned that one. So, a couple other names are doing well, but I mean, that's not bad, considering that a change over the last week for SPY is about 2.3%, and that's the performance over the last 5 days. So pretty interesting performance. Let's see if we can build on it. And I think we'll see what happens when we get to October. Again, we want to see some confirmation on the tape, just like today. Like today, we had good, strong breadth in the market. We want to start to see that more often than just one day. So we'll see if that sticks, and it should provide many more trading opportunities if that does continue and gets there into the month of October. So again, tomorrow we have quarter end. Anything could happen. That's the way I kind of thought for today. I was waiting for trading signals, which we did get, but I think for tomorrow with quarter end, you could see some type of portfolio rebalancing and some whippy markets, like we saw a little bit this afternoon. All right, guys, that's it for this for today's video. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.